Hello Leo friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my video, June 2020 Astrology, Leo Must Knows. We have a very busy sky this month with 2 out of 3 eclipses and the third one early in July. We also have Mercury Retrograde, we have Venus Retrograde, we have the second of 3 passes of Jupiter and Pluto, these titans of the outer realms coming together, which have been 2 of the mischief makers in all of the things with the coronavirus and the breakdown of the systems. So we're having a second pass of that. We're going to talk about the possible implications there in the area of the chart that's being accentuated for each of the Leo placements. And we're going to see how all of these aspects and a couple of other things I want to look at could affect Leos because of the mathematical angles that these transits make for your placement. Okay, so I have my handy dandy chart here. So we're going to talk about first this energy of retrograde. From June 2nd, we just start this Mercury retrograde energy, Mercury shadow period, which is like the energy where you start to put the heat on a boiling pot. Retrogrades, the actual boiling, and then the cooling down of the water when you turn the heat off is the post-transit shadow period. So all in all, this energy lasts from the beginning of June until the end of July. June and July totally covered in Mercury retrograde. Venus as well. We still have Venus retrograde. Venus rules love, beauty, money, a lot of areas of life being worked on here. Mercury rules communication and the devices communication and transportation and mobility. So between all of those areas of rulership going in retrograde, we have a very strong retrograde focus here. And so Venus will go direct on between June 25th, around 24th to 25th, depending on your time zone. But the shadow period there again lasts until July 29th. So every day after June 25th, we're kind of getting out of the web of Venus retrograde. And then every day after July 12th, which is when Mercury goes direct, we get out of the web of Mercury retrograde. And as soon as we get out of those, at the end of July, the Mars pre-shadow transit for that retrograde starts. Now that is a long process. So there is going to be some very important energy at the end of July into the beginning of August. If you need to push some important things through that need some oomph, and you can't wait till next year, there will be some open stars for that just in time for your birthdays. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to, let's see, we've already talked about this June 5th lunar eclipse at 15 degrees of Sagittarius in the May report. If you haven't watched the May report, definitely watch it because I go into details about the specific effects for Leos and what area of experience is affected there. In general, this is a very exciting new eclipse cycle. Fire signs have been, myself included, I'm a Sag, we've been getting dogged, like totally dogged from this Capricorn Cancer eclipse cycle. And while it has brought many advancements and many positive changes in the home and family and work arena, the angles that these eclipses since the middle of 2018 through now are making are really challenging. Okay, so you may be happy to see that eclipse cycle ending here, and this new one beginning in fellow fire sign and then Gemini air sign, which is definitely going to be very productive for you all on a lot of different fronts for the rest of 2020 and all of 2021. And we've got this first one here in a favorable angle for you. Now the retrograde in the Mercury retrograde, basically understand about the retrogrades is that it's a time when you're not necessarily getting all the information. It's a time when things are going to change, and it's a time when you're not seeing clearly on certain topics, which is why it's usually recommended to, if you have to do things, we have to do things, of course, right? Low stakes things, things that you can afford, things that are easily changeable, things that have a short-term arrangement, things that are just something you're experimenting with. All that stuff is fine. It's just the really big stretches of expenditures. It's not looking at paperwork, and then missing something important, especially with a long-term commitment, and making big life-changing decisions amidst this web when you don't have all the information. That's where we want to really try to be careful. But most things are just move along. If you find a course that you want to study, you could take the course. If you find something you want to buy that's affordable, to buy the thing. It's as long as it's in that low stakes and all of those other guidelines, which I have a ton. If you look up Annie Botticelli and Venus retrograde, I have a ton of resources on this, including a very in-depth blog that goes into all of these exceptions and caveats and things to understand about making decisions in Venus retrograde. But in general, the Mercury retrograde is at a challenging angle for your placement. Okay, so it's, just a little bit awkward. It's bringing a lot of emotion, a lot of inward energy, and that doesn't flow as well for the fiery Leo energy. It's going to be very internal, could give you a lot of things on your mind that you want to be working out. So this retrograde in Venus Gemini is favorable. So I'm hoping that the things having to do with love and relationships and beauty and design and money and relationship to money have been manifesting in positive ways, because this is a nice angle for you. Now, of course, we have many different layers of what's going on in the world right now, and this is just one of the small factors, but we'll take it, right? We'll take Venus being retrograde in a sign that accentuates your sign any day amidst the madness, right? So sometimes that could mean things coming from the past, opportunities from the past, ideas from the past, or goals from the past that come in to focus. And a lot of this may have to do with sustainability. Sustainability is the key word of this time. All of the aspects that are in going on in Cancer, in Capricorn, and which we'll talk more about. And then this thing with the Venus retrograde is all making people question how they're going to use their money and how they're going to earn their money, and how they can do that in ways that could be even better than before. So just hold the hope flame that if you've had challenges from what's gone on, that just see it as this kind of, I call it this unstitching a scarf, okay? So if you're learning to crochet or knit and you're making a scarf and it's supposed to be even, right? Coherent and even. But when you're learning, a lot of times you skip stitches or don't count them, and then the scarf starts going like that. And so what this month is all about, the retrogrades, the eclipses, is all about this unstitching back to the point where you made the mistake. It also represents a clearing up of karma. So if there's a karmic imprint, it's like the peeling back in the family ancestral line to clear up the imprint, and then start stitching your scarf straight, which is representative of your life and getting things straight in your life. So people get nervous when the unstitching happens. It feels like things are going away and there's uncertainty, but just remember, it only can unstitch so far. And then when it stops, when it has to, when it reaches that magical point, you can start stitching up again with more care and with more relevance for your current life and your current goals. Okay, I'm going to show you where this solar eclipse is going to be for you, and we're going to talk about this Jupiter Pluto conjunction as we look at the chart. So some of the things I talk about are going to be true for all Leo placements, but there are going to be times when I differentiate out, and you will want to know where you are. So early born are basically like July born or 0 to 9 degrees, middle like August 1st through 10th or 10 to 19 degrees, and late August 11th through the rest of the sign or 20 to 29 degrees. It's those of you in the middle degree that are really getting the extra positive kisses from that Sagittarius eclipse on the 5th. Okay, so let's see. Let's use the middle degree chart to talk about some things for everybody, and I'll jump around as is relevant. So you'll notice that all of this energy in Gemini, this is super positive for Leos because, so again, we're using the middle degree chart, but what we're talking about right now is true for all Leos. Because these happen at a 60-degree angle. So if you remember what I always talk about with these 60-degree angles, they're the ingredients on a counter energies. Okay, so if you have the ingredients to make a yummy whatever you want to make on the counter, and then you pass by and you're like, I always say, where's my pie, right? Annie, where's my pie? You said these good things are coming, where's my pie? So you have to make the pie. Usually with a 60-degree angle, somebody shows up and gives you all the ingredients for the pie. And then if you don't make the pie, then you could be like, I didn't have any pie. Well, you didn't make any pie. So you might have to make some pie, but you're more likely to have the ingredients because of all this Gemini energy, okay? And that is very favorable. That is also the energy of where the eclipses are going to be, this Sag Gemini. So this is a big trend that's coming up for the long term. So let's look at, you see this 11th house, early degree placement, super full. 11th house for middle, super full. And 11th house for late, super full. And even though those of you in the late degree spectrum, you're not having the sun join the party until later in the month. That's one of the things that's different about your chart. you can see you still have a very full 11th house. And even though Venus is retrograding, it's over this way and it's not really joining. It doesn't matter because the 11th house is still strong, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. Now, for your late degree placements, so those of you at the end of the sign, you're having extra energy from this 10th house representation in your work and career. Now, for the rest of the Leos, if you have work and career in the rulership areas of the 11th house, you'll also have work and career come up. And really, this is a time for everyone in the cosmos to have work things coming up because of all the things going on in Capricorn in the sky and the Capricorn eclipses. But the late degree placements, you still have some lingering energy with work, career, and father figures and authority figures and your place out in the world and all of that. So the 11th house, as we can see, which is accentuated for everybody, has to do with, and we are going to point out some more things about this 11th house, so listen up when I talk about the representations here. Has to do with community, your place within the community, your place within a group, you being a part of a group, you being a leader in a group, teams, community-based projects and initiatives. This can have to do with large organizations. This can have to do with nonprofits, internet-based or technology-based things, futuristic type of things, new age type of things, anything having to do with patents or anything where you're bringing something out that's going to be for the greater good. So that's going to be strongly accentuated for all of the placements. Also important to know that because all of these opportunities are coming up with this 60-degree angle for all the Leo placements, this is also the house of friendships and acquaintances and social media. So you might have opportunities or questioning or different things that go up with the social media, but it's not a time to be disconnected from people. I don't know what's going to be going on with quarantine during the process of this cycle. So I don't know the degree to which in-person gatherings are going to be part of this, but networking in whatever way is allowable in your vicinity is going to be really important as doing it safely, of course, because the odds are much more likely that you might meet somebody or re-meet somebody in the past that you met who can help you. Or maybe, let's say, there's a virtual gathering of some sort or an in-person gathering with safe social spacing. And you go and you need a job and this person is like, hey, I actually am hiring, so the odds of you getting help from somebody from a social connection of some sort, whether it's online or in person, is greatly increased this month. So you definitely want to be working with that. Okay, so we're going to use the early degree chart just to look at a couple of other things here. So the energy of partnerships is very strongly accentuated. You can see for the early degree placements, you have Mars and then these longer term planets here. Same thing with middle degree placements. And then late degree placements, you also have full partnership houses. Mars is not really accentuating the 8th house yet, but it's still in the 7th house, and this is partnership energy. So wherever Mars is, I call Mars the border collie of the zodiac. And Mars kind of gets you like hot on something, kind of like one of my border collies is hot on pine needles. Okay, she always, or like things that she finds, random pieces of fuzz or whatever. She finds it and she stares and she's hot on that thing. Okay, that's what Mars is. Mars puts you like hot on something. And this is relationships, for better and worse. So anything having to do with relationships is taking part of this front center stage. So there can be resources available to you, there can be developments, there can be conflicts, there could be crises, there can also be resolution. And the more you focus the work on it and really actively try to use the energies, the better the outcomes can be. But do remember that Mars energy can be combative. It's the god of war. So, it's in Pisces, so hopefully that's muted a little bit. And hopefully it moving through Pisces will help more compassion to come through in any relationship complications and more, we'll say, intuitive and spiritual solutions could possibly come in those situations. All right, so we talked about that. So the Jupiter-Pluto alignment is going to happen in the 6th house for early and the 6th house for middle. We'll talk about what that means. And on the line between the 5th and 6th house for late. So all Leo placements can have 6th house manifestations for this big boom, and then the late ones a little bit in the 5th as well. So what is the big boom? Jupiter is an amplifier. Pluto rules birth, death, transformation, and rebirth, and regeneration, and blowing things up and then building them again. Jupiter comes in, makes things worse or better or both. It amplifies. So part of what's been going on in the world, okay, is this Capricorn rules systems. It also rules skeletal systems, by the way. So joint issues, teeth, bones, ligaments, things like that could be under more pressure because of this. So also guard those more. And the systems of the world. So it's the system of our body, you know, the skeletal bone system structure, and then the structures in the world. So that's part of why things are breaking down, is that they're not sustainable. And the things that are not sustainable, that's what this Capricorn energy is bringing out. I alluded to this before. Anything that's not sustainable is getting seriously called into question, if not completely wiped out. And that's what's happening. So that's going to be true on all levels for everyone. You can see this sustainability issue and topic come up in any area of life. But for all of the Leos, there's this energy in the 6th house, which is your daily work routine, your daily routine. Is it sustainable? Is your work routine sustainable? Is how you're making money sustainable? Is your exercise, your supplements, your diet sustainable? Is your health sustainable? Are your stress levels sustainable? This is the health house. That's why all of this health stuff is more focused for Leos. Do you need more support to your structural system? That's another question that's coming up. Things involving pets and animals, things involving sustainability with them as well. So for the late degree placements where you have this also possibly in the 5th house, this has to do with romance. Is your romance sustainable? Is stuff with your kids sustainable? Children are in that 5th house. Are your creative efforts sustainable? And how can you make, and this is for everybody, how can you make sustainability and productivity out of all of the things in your life? And that's what it wants you to figure out, you know, and so opportunities can come with it, solutions can come with it, and crisis can come with it if it's not sustainable. But it's definitely a time to get things checked out with your health if you can. Of course, I know that you might not be able to go to the emergency room and you might have restricted care, but just kind of use your intuition to do whatever feels like you're supposed to do in a situation if symptoms are coming up. All right, so the last thing that we have to do is look at where the solar eclipse is. So remember in the May report, I talk about the June 5th eclipse. Now we're going to talk about the June 20th, 21st eclipse, and then the July 5th eclipse we'll talk about in the July report. So it's at 0 degrees of Cancer. And for early degree placements, you're going to feel that influence in the 12th or 11th. Middle degree, that drops back into the 11th. And late degree, that's in the 11th as well. So we've talked extensively about the 11th house. Now you just add the energy of new beginnings, you know, into the 11th house of the friendships and the social circles and all of these kind of things. And sometimes new beginnings are disguised as radical endings as well, because they hold the seed for the new birth. You all, every Leo, can look up my eclipses in Aquarius and 11th house. If you go to AnnieHelpsYouTV.com or search for Annie Botticelli YouTube, find my homepage, you'll see my 12 video eclipse series. And the ones that are for you are the eclipses in the 9th house, or Sagittarius, it's called, okay? Then the eclipses in Cancer, or the 4th house, okay, because that's the sign of the eclipse. Eclipses in the 10th house, or Capricorn, because that's the sign of the July eclipse. Then you're going to look up, because of this house placement, eclipses in Aquarius, or the 11th house. And then for the early degree placements, you're additionally going to look up eclipses in Pisces, or the 12th house, because you also have the chance to have that influence there. So that's going to cover that. In general, there is a very strong energy coming from Astrea moving through your sign to make things right, okay? This energy of making things right, righting past wrongs, is really strong in the energy of children and your creativity and your expression. So this can come in many forms. You might have a child in your life you have to make something right with. It might be your inner child you have to make things right with. It might have something to do with you showing up in a different role for a child, or mentoring in your community if you don't have your own children or some other child close to you. It could have to do with your creative babies, like a song is in you, your vibrant heart song wants to come out. You have to make things right by letting it out. And it could have to do with romance or your relationships, making things right. So there's this energy of making things right. And so that's another theme that's coming up for Leo placements. So if you love how I teach and you want to learn, go to my school, Luminous Life Multiversity. I have a lot of free courses there. I also have very in-depth programs for vocational expansion, including my Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery course. So LUME-Life, L-U-M-E life.com. You can also see the links underneath the video with all of these links to click on. I can get you anywhere you're wanting to go with your astrology, from personal development to professional development. Is a very, very comprehensive course. And it definitely falls under the okay to register for in the time frame because of the nature of it. And you can email me if you have more questions about that on my anniehelpsyou.com contact page. If you want more information about how to work with the energies coming up, go to my sites and check out my blogs. I have hundreds of blogs I've written. AnnieHelpsYou.com, CozyBySweetStarlight.com also has horoscopes that are written a month early, as well as other astrology kissed blogs. And you may want to pre-order my book, Planetology. So my book, Planetology, will help you to align with the natural rhythms of the universe, which is at the core of all of my work. Of what I'm trying to help you to do is to align so that you go with the rhythms and not against them, so that you set your boats out when the tide is going out and you pull your boats in when the tide is going in. So you can search for Annie Botticelli, Planetology, and you will find it. You can find my Penguin Random House author page just by searching for Planetology and Annie Botticelli, where you can pre-order. You can also pre-order through many different venues all over the world. I've had people letting me know that they found different venues. It's on Amazon. So I hope that you love it. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.